On today's episode, our guest is Jennifer Black. She is the founder of First 24 Bereavement Concierge Services, a company that helps families navigate through the aftermath of loss. First 24 provides funeral planning and grief coaching services. Jennifer is also the author of Here's to Hope, a 30-day devotional to bring healing to grieving hearts. God called Jennifer to bereave families after losing multiple family members of her own unexpectedly. She understands that families need assistance, not just emotionally, but in all areas and affairs to ensure that they are being properly handled. Jennifer understands the tedious details that go into planning, and her goal is to take the load off of grieving families. Hi, Jen.
Hi.
Welcome to the Cultivating Wellness Podcast.
Thank you.
Now, I shared your bio, and it's full of so many goodies that we want to touch on today.
Thank you.
But the main one that strikes my interest, and the main reason why I brought you here today, is for your Bereavement Concierge Services. Mm-hmm. Can you please share with the audience what that is?
It is, to sum it up, because it is, First 24 Bereavement Concierge Services, it is helping the family after the loss of a loved one. It is planning everything for them, not just the funeral, but even thereafter, because a lot of times people have a hard time with the aftermath of the funeral, because that's when your new normal starts with, collecting your loved one's things, getting them off different accounts and things like that. But initially, it's to plan the funeral. We plan for different things in our lives, and think of a wedding. It's just the opposite of that, because you need food, you need a venue, right? You need you need services, you need music, right? Yeah. So the same thing goes with a funeral. I think people just think just morbid when they think about that, but you should allow your loved one's last wishes and well wishes. They should be remembered well, and so why not have a concierge, top-notch service to do that for you? So all you have to do is show up at the funeral.
What makes this very interesting is because what I believe to happen after someone passes away is that you go to the funeral home and they do all of that stuff. So how is what you do so much more different than that?
That is the misconception, because even I had that question when God gave me this idea. But when I dealt with multiple deaths in my family, I saw what the funeral home didn't do. Now, the funeral home, the best way I describe it to people, their main concern is the body. Okay.
Yes.
Now they do other things. Some go the further mile more than others, but for the most part, they handle the body. They are dealing with the family as far as the arrangements and things like that. But there are things that they're just not going to do because it's just not. I don't want to say in their job description, but they're not getting paid for that necessarily, right? That's what I've heard some of them say. But there are some that do go the extra mile. So, for instance, they do have ushers. They have things like that. But just at the funeral, you just want a main person to go to handle all of that. Versus, usually at a funeral home, they have like 3 or 4 different people. You're telling them different things you want, and not saying this is no shade to the funeral home, right?
We're not shading the funeral.
We're not shading the funeral. I'm just talking about the extra service, okay? Right. You want a trusted party to handle those cards, right? Because there's what's called cash in those, or checks, okay? You want a trusted party, and just for the family, you don't want to be on the phone about to proceed down the aisle and your cousin is asking for instructions. The funeral home's not going to do that. That's not their job,
Yeah.
And so even with that, as I was saying before, after that, after the funeral, getting all those things together for you, accompanying you with any things that you need to do in regards to your loved one, taking them off accounts and going through their clothes and, just really being like, what's next, especially for widows and widowers, they don't have no idea what to do. Yeah. And so it's just an extra service for them. I do a lot of stuff that the funeral homes do, no doubt, right?
Right.
But it's just on another level. I like to feel feel like, I don't know about you, but even when I go to the doctors, I'm not oblivious. I know I'm not the only one.
Right.
I know I'm not the only family you're dealing with, but make me feel like that.
Seriously.
And that is my goal, to make my families feel like they're the only ones. They are my priority. They come first, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm just the liaison to help them execute all of those things. You know, just think about it as like a concierge when you go away.
Yeah.
Hey, where do I go here for the best restaurant in there? It's just an extra added service, high class service.
I like this.
Yeah.
I as a therapist, oftentimes when people come to see me for grief, it could be a year, 6 months, or even longer that they finally come into therapy to get services. And I'm feeling like it's because they don't have someone to help them do all of those things. So I'm so busy doing all of this, going through the clothes, figuring out what we're going to do with this house, making all of the arrangements even before you get to that step. And you don't even have time to move into that process. So it sounds like having someone like you would be a layer off of them.
Absolutely. The goal is to take that burden off of them, just so you could just show up at the funeral. You know, of course, you're going to have to consult with me with different things, and I get your authorization with different things that you want, but you just want to show up there, because it is so hard to process grief, right, and cope with that, and you got a million things to do. Not only that, remember, people are coming over, they're bringing sandwiches, they want you to talk all night long, right? And it's a shame because the griever feels the pressure of entertaining for whatever reason, right? Like, oh, I gotta make sure everybody's good, you know, and like you said, to your point, they're so busy helping this one and that one. Even at the funeral, they're numb, right? Because they come in with the check, you know, you gotta pay this one, do that, do this. You're pulled in so many different ways.
You got stuff to do.
Because people mean well, but even at the funeral, you're being pulled on. And I've been there to be a shield, like, we love you and everything, and they will get back to you, but right now it's just too much. If you could just wait until, you know, like after the funeral or at the repast, when you can talk to them, then just kind of keeping the flow going, because people just want to grab and pull on you, and they mean well. They mean well. And to your point, they get so busy that they can't process it. So like you said, months, years later, then they're like, oh, and it just the floodgates, like it's really, really bad for some of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What are some of the situations you found yourself in offering this service to families?
I've found, with some of them, because people aren't used to this service, even I didn't know it existed, you know, so that's why it was kind of challenging for me in the beginning, because I didn't know what to compare it to. But with the families, I'll meet with them, and then maybe 2 days later, they're like, yeah, so my cousin said, like, she could do everything you do.
Yes. Like, okay. That's exactly what I was thinking. Then, like, okay, my auntie does program.
Exactly.
Yes. Right. What are you looking for? Right.
Trying to DIY everything. And I just don't understand that, because if I were me, I would hire, like, I don't want to deal with anything when someone close to me. I just want to show up. Like, show me where to go, and I'm there, you know? And so I run into that. I run into people, well, what does the funeral home do? Like, what makes you different than a funeral home? Like, that's what the funeral home is supposed to do. And that's the misconception, because the funeral home is like, we don't have to do, we're doing this as a courtesy, but they really don't have to do that. And so I run into a lot of that as well. Like, what is the difference? We'll just get the funeral home to do it. And then you find out they're not doing it. And then I go to the funeral, and it's just chaos, because the funeral home, they're taking care of the body, they're doing their part, but it's just so many other things going on that does not involve the funeral home, that they're just like sitting back and watching. Like, what do you want us to do? Like, that's a family matter, versus getting a third party, neutral party, to diffuse the situation, to make sure you're doing this. I remember I got cussed out by this one of my client's brothers, because he didn't want to walk with somebody else to process down. And I'm like, listen, this is what we're going to do. Thank you, love you, see you in the morning. And he was there and he walked. But and you know, some family, that they don't want to deal with it. She's like, my client's like, can you just call everybody? Can you please just do everything? Because the back and forth, like, not only am I grieving the loss of my loved one, now I have family drama.
Oh yeah, and it's almost like those two are married together. They go together.
Yes.
Death drama.
Yes.
Death drama.
Chaos, confusion. Yes. Bitterness, anger. Right? Because everybody's, you know, there's a lot of times where everybody comes, you know, for some people, for some families, you know, everybody's resurrected, right? Because mama died, right? So mama has, like, people from North Carolina, like, her second cousin, I want her pearl set, or whatever the case is. And it's just, it is crazy, the things that I've seen, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And so for a third party to come in, and not that because first of all, I'm not getting beat up. I'm not fighting for nobody. Okay,
seriously.
I am bringing professionalism, and I am just doing what the person that I have my griever who I've contracted with, whatever wishes they want is what I'm doing, and I'll call cops if I need to. Okay.
So it can get seriously.
It can. Thank God it has not gotten that serious. I mean, the worst I've gotten was cursed out on the phone. And when I saw him, you would have thought we were best friends.
That's not
because I keep it professional, and I don't take it personal. I know that it's something deep rooted within the family that has nothing to do with me. Yeah. I'm just there to do a job. Yeah. So I don't take it personal.
Okay. So you may mention that the funeral home's job is to take care of the body, and it seems like when you're saying that, all I can envision is like, once I get this body here and we do whatever medical procedures we need to do, we find it. You pick your casket, that's it. But it was always my understanding that they actually do the program, and you can have a service there if you need to, and all of these different things, and it's all included, and you just, I just always felt like you just go there, they take care of everything, and boom. But again, I've never been the one to have to
do the plan,
arrange or do anything like that.
Now, let me say this. They are known for that, okay? Because most funeral homes won't like that I say they're about their body, but they really are. Because if there's no body, what are you doing, right?
That's true.
They do take care of the family. So most funeral homes, they do have someone that they have vendors within. So they have people that do the program, right? Yes. They have people that will do, slideshow, or they will do it themselves. So they do have those, whether they're contracted or within, whatever the case may be. Most of them do have that. Do you have to go with that? No. Right. Can you go there and you say, can you do everything? Yes, but what's everything? What does that mean to people? Because
that's true.
And that's why I feel bad for the funeral home too, because they don't expect to do everything for you. Just like the family, there's a misconception on both ends, right? Because the client thinks like, oh, I'm gonna go to the funeral home. Oh, they're gonna do everything. Yes. But what does everything mean? That is where the communication needs to come in. This is what we're gonna do for you. This is our job. We can do this, and that, right? So if you're calling them at like 2 a.m. because you need to, you need, I don't know, juice boxes for the kids there, that's not in their job description. They're not going to do that, or if they need just extra special attention that the funeral home really is not contracted to do. Right. But to you, that's everything, right?
Right.
So you're like,
that's your misconception. That's what you thought was supposed to happen.
And unfortunately, the families have these expectations of the funeral home that the funeral home may not even be aware of until they're in the thick of it, right? Yeah. So you can go and get everything depending on what your definition of everything is.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why you compared it to a wedding, because you go to different venues and they're like, oh, we have a videographer, we contract with this, and we do all this. It's not necessarily in-house that is happening, but we can hook you up with some people that do these things.
You don't have to use them. You can, or if you're like, I'm not feeling your programs, you can use your own, just like you said, just like with a wedding venue. It's no different. Yeah. It's really no different.
Jennifer, how did you get into this? Like, how did this come to you? Why are you in this industry?
Actually, it was a result of multiple family members passing away. It wasn't just one significant death, right? Because I know a lot of people start things because, maybe their parents passed away or somebody passed away tragically, and that's why they started. But initially, it's because it was a multitude of family members within like a 3-year span. I was like, what is happening now? Like, this is crazy. One was out of state. That was different for us. He was in North Carolina because, we had like get the body here, talk to the medical examiner, and I have a big family. 8 on my mom's and 12 on my dad's, and it was on my dad's side primarily. And it was like devastating to us. And because we're close, especially with my aunts, I'm really close to them, they came to me for help. We were just helping each other. We all came together to help, because it was primarily my aunts, their husbands. And so we're trying to figure it out. Like medical examiners, funeral homes, life insurance. We're like, what is happening? We're learning it all. And so I just sat back. I said, how is somebody supposed to grieve and handle this?
Yeah.
And things not fall through the cracks? Like, how do people do this accurately, you know? And so that's when God put in my heart to start something where families would not get taken advantage of, right? And that things were ran smoothly. Like, that burden was put on me so that they can grieve properly, so that they can just focus on that and show up to the funeral.
Yeah. Do you feel like you guys missed out on some things, or some things happened to you where you're taken advantage of or anything in the process of this happening that made your antennas go up like, oh no?
Right, absolutely. Because first of all, we're in disbelief because this was like, it was so unexpected with all of them, right?
Yeah.
And so with that, we don't know what to do, right? Because we know what to do from afar because, like you said, we weren't involved with the the planning, right? So it's easy to look back like, oh, wow, yeah. But when you're in the thick of it and you're doing it, it's a different ballgame.
Right.
So definitely a lot of things that fell through the crack. Primarily, one of the biggest ones was the funeral home, where once the life insurance check was received, it's like, well, where's the rest? Like, this clearly can't be all, right?
When the check came to the house, it wasn't what they paid
it
into
wasn't
all
what
those
the
years.
policy. Yeah, it didn't. It was like half of that, right? And so one had to wonder what is going on with that. And so as a result of that, I was like, wow. I didn't know why. I didn't know what's going on. So later, fast forward, I did get my life insurance license. I did become a licensed agent.
Right.
Sold it for a little bit before my daughter was born, and then I just stopped. I keep it current now just to know what's going on. I don't sell it.
Okay.
But with that, come to find out, when someone passes away, you can, if you have life insurance, right?
Yes.
This is what usually happens. You contact the funeral home. The funeral home is like, oh, okay, so sorry for your loss. We would love to do, thank you for contacting us. We would love to handle this for you. They will ask you, and you will sign something saying you can get authorization, call the insurance company, find out how much I had to make sure I have enough coverage to cover this funeral home. That covers the funerals. Yeah. They just want to make sure like you had the money to pay for this, so we're not doing all of this and then you don't have anything, right? However, you can tell them, and you can tell your insurance company, you can actually call, right? Okay. So you can call, or you can tell your insurance company, the funeral home's going to call. If they ask you, based off of however much your funeral home is, so let's say your funeral is like $15,000, right? Right. You can call your insurance company, give them specific directions, like, well, it's $15,000. They're going to call you just to verify. You can verify 15, nothing more than that, right? Okay. Because what happens is, right, which has happened to my family, the funeral home will call the insurance company. Yes. And they'll say, hey, how much does Jill have, right? Because you've signed this authorization.
Yeah, so they can ask whatever questions they want then.
How much? Now they're a little more strict. Okay. Years ago they weren't, but now they're a little more strict. And they'll say, how much do they have? Oh, they have $100,000. So let's say, okay, cool. So then, some funeral homes, we're
not talking about all y'all.
Right, if you get offended, then you better check yourself. If the shoe don't fit, then it's cool. Right. So you have $100,000. So now, I can charge you based off of that. So now, instead of this casket being $2,500, actually it's $6,000. Right? You don't know anything and you're grieving, so you're like,
fine.
Right, so Jill's like, you know what? I'm just, she's got her sunglasses on. Whatever it costs, just do it. Just do it, right? Yes. Jill doesn't know. And if Jill's husband is getting cremated, that slashes the price. So why am I still being charged that amount? Yes. Whenever you go to a funeral home, if they don't give you an itemized list about for how much everything is, run. If they say, we'll work with whatever you have, run the other way. No.
You want to see the prices on the paper.
Just like when I go to McDonald's or Chick-fil-A.
Show me the menu.
Don't they show me what it is and the price?
Show me the menu.
Same thing should apply. Yes. Thank you. I want you to work with me. That's great. But can you give me an itemized list of what I'm paying for? Because what happens is, going back to my family, right? Yeah. You have all these things, right? So it said, you go, all right, so this is what happened. So this is where this went. So you had an extra hour for the limo. Mind you, I didn't know about that, right? Yeah. You had an extra hour for the limo, add $100 to that, right? Ooh. We had to take you home from the repast, right? Ooh. Charge you for that, right? You don't even know this until after the fact. Right. Right? Okay. You got an extra floral thing. You got a little teddy bear you put in there. All of these charges that you were not aware of.
Not nickel and diamond me.
Right? Because you're paying them to do everything. And so you just believe that they're just handling everything, and you're getting charged accordingly. And you think that you're just getting charged for the casket, right? The florist, the church, or their funeral home. You think you're getting charged for maybe about, I don't know, 3 or 4 things unknowingly, because you don't know. And if they had explained it to you, if they told you, you don't remember that at the table. You don't remember. Why not call and say,
I'm not going to remember
but I just want you to know your final charges for everything. If you want to look through this before the funeral, do that a couple days before the funeral. This is what you're being charged, versus just all of that being charged, and then weeks later you're thinking you're getting this amount.
Yes, because you got stuff you need to do with that money too.
Okay.
Right.
Because bills don't stop.
Right.
You still have to pay.
And you just lost the income. Mm-hmm. So many more ways we can go with that, but we're going to take a short break.
Okay.
And we'll come back and get back to it.
All right.
Okay, Jen. So besides running your concierge service, you're also a grief coach. Mm-hmm. Now, listen, you don't want the therapists and the coaches to get into a tussle, girl. Because they all over the internet,
just going at it.
We don't need to get into no tussle. Mm-hmm. And I think coaching is so very important. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you do grief coaching is just a big deal to me. So tell me more about how you got into it and what you feel like the differences are between coaching and therapy.
Thank you so much. I love that coming from a therapist, for sure. So the grief coaching came, I want to say, it was like during COVID.
Okay.
Because God had pressed it upon my heart that there's so much, like I was saying, the new normal starts after the funeral. Mm-hmm. And there's so many people that feel forgotten about, lost. They're just like all over the place because they feel that, because remember, nobody's bringing over the sandwiches. Nobody bringing over paper towels. Guess what? Everybody's going back to their lives with their loved ones who are alive, right? And you're dealing with this new normal. Yeah. And so that is a lot to deal with when you go from having this full house of people to it's just you, like crickets, like nobody's calling nothing, right? And so with that, during the time, especially with COVID, like, and just the loss of, because we deal with the loss of a loved one, but also we deal with loss in other ways too, right? Yeah. So loss of identity, the social realm, right? Yeah. Loss of a relationship, things like that. And so that was really tough for a lot of people. So that's when I went to get certified during that time as a coach. I didn't want to just become one. I'm like, I have to do this right. So let me get certified. Let me find out all of those things and get, accredited. So I did that, and knowing that and doing that, I realized that with coaching, going into the differences, coaching deals with the future, right? Therapy deals with the past. And I am quick to throw somebody to a therapist, okay? I truly do. I don't fight with no therapist. Now, I'm like, listen, you go with them, because you have to do, therapy deals with the past. If you're not ready to move forward in your grief, it's not to say that you're not, but if you're still stuck because, your dad, you guys had a tumultuous relationship before he passed, and you just can't let that go, you need to see a therapist. And I tell people, that's why I have consultations, because I'm like, I hear what they say, I ask questions, and I'm like, okay. So I'm going to refer you to a therapist because you're not ready. Because what we're not going to do is, and I tell them, I am not a licensed therapist. I'm a certified grief coach, right? ICF, right? So I tell them, you have to deal with that stuff before we can move any further, because you got to deal with that so you can, deal with that first so you can proceed ahead. And people can do it interchangeably too. If you feel like
you could be married.
If you feel like, you know what, I've made some progress, I'm ready to move forward, maybe baby steps, right? You can do them interchangeably, but for the most part, you got to get that stuff done in order to move forward. Otherwise, you're going to go backwards, and it's just going to hinder you more from the healing process.
It's such a thin line that many people feel like are being crossed. And honestly, it is being crossed by some folks. But to hear you say, oh no, honey child, you're going listen, thank you for reaching out, but you really should see a therapist is a big deal. Because honestly, when someone phases out of therapy, they could be enough sometimes come back monthly, but they can really just transition to a coach. So it's nice to see that someone that's in your field that's actively doing the work recognizes the importance of someone going to therapy when they need to.
Absolutely, because I even think about myself, I had a therapist looking for a new one, but I had one at the time. And what I did, I would take clusters of time. So let's say it was 3 months, I would see my therapist, and I'm like, okay, let me see how I do on my own.
Yeah.
You know, do I need a coach? What do I need at that time? But then, you know, there may be times when you're like, maybe I need to see a therapist again, you know, because I believe everybody needs one. I don't care if you're up, down, almost level to the ground. Everybody, even if you feel like your life is the greatest, there are still things I believe that help in therapy when you have like a really good therapist that help you in life in general, with relationships, with just different things. And so you just really have to be cognizant of it and want to do the work. That's the thing, right? Because with the coaches, I'm just showing you, you're like, okay, I want to get to B, but I don't know how to get there. Okay, let's go. I'm going to show you how to get there, right? Because it's your decision. It's your decision to get there. I'm going to show you. And then once you get there, what are we going to do? Are you going back to school? Are you going to write the book? What is it? It's just to get you, really coach you there. I mean, think about a sports coach. Same thing. Like let's go. Do it. Right? And so, motivator. So it's the same thing.
Yeah, I love that. And I like the example of I want to do this, but I don't know how to get there, because a lot of times people come to me and are like, oh yeah, I want to go to college, but they have so many underlying issues that need to be addressed first. So let's do that. I often say, oh, it's not time for college yet. We need to go back here and deal with some of this stuff so that when you get there, you know, you can thrive. You can do those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you ever had the opportunity to use your concierge service for someone and then later on they end up being a client in your coaching?
I've had, let me see, concierge and then grief coaching.
Yeah.
I would say no.
Okay.
I was actually probably coaching during the time I was giving the concierge services. Right. And thereafter, because I still check on my clients, you know, when I still try to check on them, maybe on anniversaries or maybe just something I see comes up, and or just God put some on my heart and I'll just reach out to let them know, see how they're doing. So that's really how that happened. The other grief coaching came from people that I have never met. It was just they found me somehow or saw something that I did, and it happened that way. But during the time of the concierge services, it was definitely
oh yeah, you were preparing yourself to step into the new role.
Exactly.
I love that. Do you have an ideal client when it comes to coaching? Because sometimes therapists specialize in certain things. Is there a client that you wouldn't take on, like a teenager or someone who lost a child or anything like that? Or are you open to all demographics?
I'm open. My ideal client are women. Okay. Right? Career-driven women who are stuck in the heaviness of grief, right? So they just are stuck. They cannot move forward. They want to, and they want the help. That's my ideal client. That woman that is just like, I want to, I just, cannot. Now, as far as people that I will not take, just anybody that doesn't want to do the work, anybody that I feel needs therapy. As far as teenagers, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I have to see what's going on, make sure it's good with the parents. Everything I pray about as well. Powerful. But I wouldn't know. Of course, I don't take men, but it's just about, I will refer them to someone. I know a great therapist guy. But that's how that would be in regards to that. Because even if to me, you're my ideal client. If God is telling me no, then that's not happening. But my ideal client in general is the career-driven woman who just feels like I just can't go forward, and they, for whatever reason, they can't budge. They want to, but they just can't, and that grief is blocking them to live out their purpose.
Now, if someone wanted to start the concierge service or the grief coaching service, what is the best way to get that started?
They can go on to the website. Okay. So on my Instagram, it's on there. It's first24.com, 1ST, like the numbers. Okay. But they can find Jennifer Black, and on there will be a consultation as well. There's a button for a consultation, because I need to know because this is what happens also. They'll do the consultation. I just want to know, like, what it entails, because my thing is, like, what do you need? Because some people, my one client, her mother passed away. She needed me from the day after her mother died up until months after, right? Oh, wow. She's the only girl. She needed me. Then there are other ones that say, I just need you for the day. I just need to make sure that everything, just like a wedding planner for the day, I just want to make sure everything goes good. Can you do that? Can you do the repast? Can you make sure everything is good for that day?
Oh, so it's levels to the service.
It's levels.
You don't have to have the whole
you don't have to have everything. I mean, it would behoove you too. I feel like once people get a little taste of it, they're like, oh, wait, can we, you know? Because it's such a great gift God has given me. I do it so effortlessly. It's like my sweet spot. I love it.
Wow.
That's probably the best thing I love doing. Like, I do the grief coaching, but the funeral planning, that's my thing. Because I don't like people messing with my families. I just don't like them being taken advantage of. I just want to make sure everything is stellar for them and that they can just leave with some kind of, relief that everything was good, everything was planned out the way that they wanted and executed, and they're good. So, so they would just go on the site and we'll do the consultation. I'll find out what you need, what you want. Okay. We'll base the price off of that because you may not need me the whole time. Or you may need me up until there and you're like, can I have you up until there, which people have, and then you figure it out that day.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much, Jen. Thank you for joining me on Cultivating Wellness.
Yes, this is great. I love it.
I hope people learn so much about the aftermath of loss because I didn't know really any of that.
Yeah.
You think you know,
but you have no idea.
That's
and
right.
people don't know I exist. I didn't know I existed. That's why I try to get it out there. That's the thing, just spreading the word that there is this kind of service and we can get it.
Yes.
Why not?
Yes.
It's a great gift for your family.
All right, Jen. So before we close out, we cannot forget to tell the people about your books and your bear.
Okay.
So you have a step-by-step guide is it for planning a funeral?
Yes.
Okay.
Once someone passes away, it tells you exactly what to do. So if you don't get my services, this will walk you through everything.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. And then you also have a 30-day devotional.
Yes.
For people who are grieving.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about the step-by-step guide first.
Okay. Yes. So this is the Passing On Workbook Guide, everybody. And so when someone passes away, what I also learned is, listen, there's so much you have to do, okay? And so I would find myself, I'm talking about writing on napkins as to the arrangements. People think that they have to go to the same funeral home that mama went to. No, do your homework. Write out 3 different funeral homes and choose accordingly. You don't have to use who mama used, right? Yeah. And so it just gives you everything. It has here as far as like the different thing, the bank account, mortgage, phone, different things you have to do in regards to taking your loved one off of those. There's notes, and it's pocketbook friendly, ladies. And there's a funeral prep checklist. And some of them say like choosing a point of contact, ensure that you confirm if there is sufficient parking at the place. It's so many different things. Confirm arrival, music, all of that. So it is just giving you a guide as to what you should do because your mind is everywhere. So if you just have something you can pick up and be like, okay, yeah. What am I wearing?
Yeah,
it can be simple as that. So that's what this guide is about, just to really help you do everything step by step and write your notes, right?
Nice. And they can find that on your website. Yes. They can order it on your website.
Yes.
All of that.
It's really good. I mean, get it. It's a great stocking stuffer for this year. Get it early.
Listen, how people don't want to think about it, but
I'm telling
we
you,
need to order
something happens, right? Right. And so then we have our 30-day devotional called Here's to Hope.
Okay.
Now this was written in homage to my 4-year-old niece who passed away in 2018. Hope, and so her name is Hope, and so it's called Here's to Hope because I believe where there is life, there's hope, and anybody can change, anybody can, heal and be on that road, and so it just goes through day to day as to encouragement and different scriptures. Now and I name the different topics, each day something different that I have experienced, that I've heard people deal with, like it should have been me, right?
Yes.
Or emotional much, why me? What do I have left? I didn't want it to be like, as the deer passes the water, God will heal. No, I wanted it to be like I don't feel good.
Exactly.
I'm so mad. Like, what is going on? I don't understand. Like, I don't want to be bothered. And so that's the realness of it in regards to the 30-day devotional. Yeah.
I love that. Also could be found on your website.
Absolutely.
Now this, tell us about your bear.
Okay, so this is agape, known as love. And so agape, let's see. Agape is the Bear Concierge, right? So think about, like how schools have a mascot.
Yeah.
It's like He's a mascot, but he is a bear of healing, right? Every bear was prayed over. You know, God gave me this concept, and he has a little heart, you know, because he understands, you know, he feels the grief, handmade, and just a way to bring comfort to different people. Kids have gotten them, adults, men, women, you know, just a little comfort, something to hug on. You know, sometimes you don't feel like talking to people. You only be around people.
Absolutely.
Guess what? Agape's there. So that was the purpose of this beer, because I just wanted people to feel a little more, just get a little more comfort when, you know, getting the book, and just in general, something for them to hold on to.
I love it.
Yeah.
Jen from First 24 Bereavement Concierge Services.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on a Cultivating Wellness Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I can't thank you enough for sharing all this information. It's out there now. All the people got to do is
out there now.
Find you.
Come see me.
Thank you, Jen.
No problem. Hey, everybody. Shout out to my girl, Jennifer Owens, for Cultivating Wellness. You got to check her out. This is an amazing experience, and she's doing some great things. So go ahead, look her up.